What's going on, guys? So I'm not dead. I'm not missing. I'm not on another planet. I'm here. I'm alive, and finally I'm doing well. You know, I suppose this is my official return to social media, to Instagram and YouTube. Um, and this is a long-awaited video, both for me to produce and for you guys asking, wondering where I am because, well, I haven't posted. I didn't post a single physique picture for like almost an entire year. So today, I'm going to fully explain the reasons for my absence from social media, where I've been in my life, what I've learned is another majorly important subject of today, and my plans for the future. Because, and I'll tell you what, they're still the same as they have always been. I'm not quitting bodybuilding. I'm not, nothing bad's happening. It's just plans have altered a little bit because of the regression that happened over the last year. But it's just going to take a little longer to get where I would like to be someday, is all. So, first and foremost, I know that I'm going to get comments about the facial hair. Now, you know what? Maybe the beard's not for me. I've considered that many times now. I'm like, I wanted to grow one out. I wanted to, because beards, I've always thought they were cool. They can be pretty manly if you have the ability to grow one, which I'm not so sure that I do anymore. It just is not growing in the way that I imagined it would. So once my face slims down again, I'm gonna probably just return to what my usual look with the short beard that kind of goes around the jawline. Once I have a jawline again. But anyways, without further ado, let's get into the reasons why I was absent, how everything kind of happened. Okay, so actually today's August 19th of 2026. On July 19th of 2025, I had my very first bodybuilding competition. I'll move over so I can, put some pictures over here in post. But yeah, I had my first bodybuilding competition. I just put forth as much effort as I possibly could into that competition. I was content with everything. I will say that if you didn't know, based like from my social media last year, there was a mistake. There was a technical error in my weight category. So I was supposed to be competing with in the light heavyweight division, which was between 170 something and 196. But I ended up being placed with the competitors that were 199 to 224, and I weighed 187 on weigh-ins. So it was unfortunate. My placing was not nearly as well as maybe as it possibly could have been. But you know what? That doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to sit there and complain about it. I think that I'm extremely satisfied with, how much God helped me to progress to that competition. If it wasn't for God, I'm telling you, it wouldn't have happened at all. I probably would have just gave up. I lost just over 40 pounds in 8 weeks while gaining muscle. I literally was gaining strength while losing fat, and I'm very content with how everything went. I couldn't be more thankful. And as compensation for the incorrect weight placement, the next competition that I do at that specific Riverworks competition, I have a waived entry fee. So next year, that competition happened. It was great. It was just such a mind-blowingly phenomenal experience, and so many lessons learned, right? I even had an embarrassing moment backstage where You know, I didn't know what you were supposed to shine yourself up with backstage, and all the other competitors were using stage shine. I started a little bit before them with the shining process, and I unfortunately used Johnson and Johnson baby oil. That didn't work very well. The spray tan, it did not mix well with the spray tan, and unfortunately, it looked pretty blotchy on stage. But you know what? You learn from that type of stuff. It was silly. It was unfortunate, but it was kind of silly, and you learn from stuff like that. You know, I know not to do that in the future. I know to use the little stage shine spray bottles now. But, anyways, so the point is, a lot of lessons learned, right? There was, there were many unfortunate lessons learned after that. After my competition, took a few days to just, start binge eating, right? Just started eating whatever I wanted. Right after my competition, I had a pizza, almost an entire pizza to myself, and then I had a cheesecake, bought a giant cheesecake and ate a bunch of it, and just started eating all kinds of junk for the next few days. And I knew at the time, I was well aware that your diet after the competition matters just as much, if not even more, than your diet before the competition, your preparation diet, because it can determine the outcome of your physique within the next several months. It's a huge mental restraint that you have to have in order to control your diet post-show, because you know that there's no consequences really anymore, because you're not preparing for anything. Well, that I unfortunately ended up beginning to take it too far. My post-competition weight, post-stage weight, was 199, which was this picture right here, which obviously that still looks incredible. I was very lean. Hadn't gained any adipose tissue yet, more or less just water retention, and because this was 3 days post-show, no adipose tissue was really gained yet, but just glycogen and water retention, really. But, that quickly changed. After my competition, I started falling off with the gym. I wasn't going as frequently. I posted that I was getting back on cycle, I think last September or something. And I did start to grow in size a little bit, yeah, but I kid you not, guys, that cycle lasted less than 2 weeks. Okay? It was like I injected testosterone once, and I took D-ball for like 5 days. That was all. That was it. And I had somebody, confront me on Instagram saying that I was lying and I was on cycle and I was blasting and stuff. No, I mean, technically I was on cycle, but for like a week and a half. But that's not the point here. The point is that I began skipping the gym frequently, more and more frequently as time went on. Just started losing myself, I was just becoming lazy, and I was just overeating like crazy. It got so ridiculous to the point where I began eating. There were days where I ate, I kid you not, over 10,000 calories in one day. And this was months after the competition, mind you. So, I had no restraint. I was honestly just depressed. I saw my physique degrading and I wasn't doing anything about it, and I had no energy. I was depressed. I was anxious. Had lots of stuff going on, I ended up getting a new job, which I really enjoyed. I don't want to say where it was, because I had an incident with somebody calling into my workplace for one of my disgruntled Instagram unfollowers in January, because they didn't like something that I had to say. They didn't like an opinion that I had. So they called my workplace in an attempt to get me fired. It didn't work. So whoever you are, I don't know if you're watching this video, but it didn't work. But anyways, started with that workplace, and I enjoyed it, but I was not forming a gym routine around it. I had no discipline. I would work that job, come home, play video games all night, and go to bed. You know? I had no routine, no regimen, no discipline. I was eating like crazy. I would eat like an example of stuff I would eat. Like I would eat a frozen pizza for breakfast every single day before work. So that's 2,000 calories right there for breakfast. I'd eat like an entire box of Nutty Buddy bars for a snack. Sometimes I would DoorDash something. I'd eat like a massive Burger King, like a 4,000 calorie Burger King meal, or I'd have 24 tacos from Mighty Taco, or something ridiculous like that, you know? And then I'd come home from work, I'd eat again. I'd usually have another frozen pizza. But I was eating, guys, I'm honestly very, very thankful, but also incredibly surprised that I didn't end up with some sort of diabetic condition. Because, I was eating like bagfuls of M&Ms, like family bagfuls of M&Ms, not the little ones.
Now, guys, it's also worth mentioning that I typically consumed around 20 cans of Coke Zero per day, and my record was 27. 27 cans of Coke Zero in one day. Now, Coke Zero is non-caloric. It contains no macronutrients, no protein, no carbohydrates, no fats. However, drinking 20 plus cans of Coke Zero a day definitely is not healthy. It's extremely acidic and will not do wonders for many things. So I have definitely limited that consumption to around 8 cans per day now, which is still quite a lot, but I kind of have an addiction to it, so is what it is.
It was ridiculous, man. It was asinine. It's so gluttonous. And I still carry a lot of shame for that to this day. I think that shame is something that's really difficult to let go of. You cast it onto God, and He takes it away for you, but it's you gotta, like, Satan tries to remind you of shame, and I certainly get quite a few reminders of it when I look at my physique present day, but I try not to think about it. It's the past is the past. You can't change it. You can only change what you do from here on out. I think that's a good principle to live by, to let go of any shame or regret or guilt that you may have. So that's what I've been trying to think lately. So anyways, come November, I was already 250 pounds. I just rapidly gained weight. Rapidly. Started developing stretch marks all over my abdomen because my waist ballooned from 34.5 inches for my competition, like waist around the umbilicus, the belly button, 34.5 inches for my competition, all the way up to 45 inches in November, 44 or 45. And then it continued into the new year. I was gaining weight so rapidly that my joints were suffering. I had difficulty walking. I couldn't move around as well. I was in constant pain. My back was hurting all the time. I began suffering. I was miserable, because I knew that I did this to myself. I knew that I was completely to blame. Full responsibility lied on me for what I did to myself, and yet I just continued to do it. I started struggling at work. I couldn't, I was working in a warehouse, and I began to not be able to walk around properly. because my ankles and my knees were being crushed all day long from this immense amount of weight that was added to me, because I was already up to about 280 pounds by February. And a lot of medical stuff happened at work. I was constantly needing to go to the doctors all of a sudden because I needed accommodations for sitting down at work because I couldn't be on my feet for long periods of time. Honestly, guys, and I'm sharing this with you as an example of, this is a warning for all of you guys out there, okay? I know some of you guys, like, you have a wonderful work ethic. You think things like that are never going to happen to you. It is what you think, you know? Until it does. And when it does, you have to recognize, you have to make a change before it's too late. Luckily for me, it is not too late. I mean, I didn't cause any irreversible damage. I didn't, I'm not dead. I didn't have a heart attack or a stroke. Like, I'm still well. And, spoiler alert, I am far better, in far better condition than I was a few months ago. Okay? Because I made a change. But I'm telling you what, guys, you think that you're immune to it. You think that you're invincible until it happens to you. Stuff can happen, and nobody is mentally invincible. Nobody is mentally immune. Not even Dorian Yates. Dorian Yates fell off sometimes. He was about to give up. I mean, he didn't end up giving up, and I'm not either. I'm not saying that Dorian Yates fell as far as I did, but I used to have an absolutely what seemed to be an unbeatable work ethic back in the days. I used to train muscles like 5 times a week, but I'd go to the gym 7 times a week. I would do 600 to 800 calories worth of cardio every day. I would eat perfectly, log everything down to the individual gram. I was so laser focused and just tunnel vision on my goals. So I assumed that this would never happen, and I got too comfortable. I got into too much of a comfortable mindset. It wasn't staying on top of myself as much as I should have. And that's a warning to you guys. Never get too comfortable. Never, ever, ever allow yourself to get too comfortable. Because if you do, that'll be your downfall. I can guarantee you that. It'll be your downfall. And I don't want to see that happen to any of you guys. I don't want to see anybody go through what I went through, okay? I'm not going to sit here and throw a pity party for myself, okay? I mean, I'm just trying to describe what it emotionally felt like so that you guys can be terrified of it. I mean, you really should be terrified of it. It was a terrible experience. But anyways, eventually, I was discharged from my job because I needed too many accommodations. I was too unhealthy. I actually ended up falling at work, just falling on the ground, and I couldn't get up. Very embarrassing moment for me. And I know there's going to be people that undoubtedly are going to make fun of me for that type of stuff. They're going to say, you're pathetic, man. You're not a bodybuilder. I can already see the hate comments. All right. But you know what, guys? You're not perfect either. Nobody is perfect. Nobody in this entire world is. We have all made mistakes that we completely regret. And you can't say that you haven't. And I'm not using that as a defense. I completely accept that was pathetic. That was pathetic. I believe it was completely pathetic. And I told people at the time, I told my grandma, I think I'm completely pathetic. I think I'm honestly, at times, I told my grandma I think I'd be better off just dying in a ditch somewhere. I said it. I mean, that's honestly how I was feeling at the time. I was borderline a word that I can't say if I ever want to monetize the video, you know? And that's, it was a pretty tragic experience for me. We'll just leave it at that. But mentally, I thought of myself just about as the lowest that you could possibly think of yourself. I probably valued myself less than sewage, if I'm being honest. After I was discharged from my job, and I was now needing to live on unemployment, at first there was not much of a change being made. At first I just became very lazy. I was still in a ton of pain all the time. I was just laying around all day doing nothing about it and probably making it worse. But I knew that I had to change at some point, but I kept just putting it off until whatever, you know. But eventually, something just clicked, man, you know. After seeing, and it was around July. It was around July of this, like a month ago, where I was like, and by that time I had improved. I wasn't eating an absolutely absurd, ridiculous amount of food anymore. I think that kind of stopped around March or April. Probably around April. Right when I got fired, I stopped eating a tremendous amount of food, so that's good at least. But after that, then I did start to try to get back on a stable diet. It remained unstable for a while. But around a month ago, I said, enough is enough. Enough really, truly is enough. This should have been over months and months and months ago. Should have been over days after my competition last year. Not 11 months after my competition. So I ended up one night just really deeply praying to God, and I probably prayed for about 2 hours straight, honestly. I was just pouring my heart out. Something changed. A switch just flipped in my head where I was like, now it's decided. I'm going to be a bodybuilder. I'm not going to keep regressing. I'm not going to keep getting fatter. I'm not going to keep becoming lazier, and I'm not going to lose my life to something that was totally preventable in the first place. So I flipped a switch, and I tell you what, guys, it's not my doing. It's God. I couldn't have done it on my own. I tried many times, but I ended up getting back on cycle officially. Testosterone and clenbuterol here and there. I wasn't taking it as much as I should have, you know, but started going to the gym frequently again, and I started going too frequently, and I gave myself some sort of rapid onset tendonitis in my Achilles tendon, and I was out of the gym for a few days. So I had to take a short break. But thing is, though, it didn't turn into a break for several months. It was a break for like 4 days. Thank God. Because honestly, back then, and I do believe that was a test from God, because honestly, back then, I would have allowed that to turn into like a break for a month. But you know, there's going to be tests that come your way when you're making a major change in your life, and that was one of them, among others. So I'm going to the gym very frequently. Sometimes I go to my 24-hour gym, Pro Muscle. It's a nice bodybuilding gym, and I go at like 1 in the morning. Other times I go to Crunch with my friend in the afternoon, in the evening. I mean, we just go. Gym attendance is frequent. The diet could be better. It's not perfect, but I am logging things down, and I am, you know, I'm eating probably about 80% good and 20% not the best. but I'm eating lots of cutting foods. I'm trying new foods. I'm like boiled baby red potatoes, for instance. I never used to really eat those last year, but I've discovered that they're a pretty darn good cutting food. I always knew potatoes were, but I never thought to get the smaller ones until this year. Just boil them in salty water and then put more salt on them. And honestly, like, they're not bad at all. I've always liked potatoes, but I don't like eating an entire baked potato. It doesn't feel the same. So, that's nice. And I'm eating, fish and 90-10 ground beef and chicken, shrimp, all that stuff, and just really taking the cut seriously. And my cardio definitely could improve. I only do cardio maybe once or twice a week on the elliptical that's behind me right now. My dad lent it to me. But improvements are absolutely being made pretty dramatically. So I just wanted to make a video to spread the good news here. I mean, it's this change is being made, man. I'm not a complete failure anymore. I was for a while. I'll admit that. But no, things are getting better. Things are looking up. And honestly, guys, I've already made a lot of progress. I've lost about 25 pounds already in the last month. Last couple months, because I was losing weight just a little bit in like June. But I've lost 25 pounds already. I'm down from 288 down to 262. I've gained a lot of muscle back because, I lost quite a bit. But my arms right now are still 19 and a half inches. I just measured them. My friend measured them last week. They're still 19 and a half inches, which is as big as they used to be, but there's probably a little more adipose on them now. Well, definitely more adipose, but not a massive amount. My waist is a big problem, but I lost a lot, and I went from my waist at my biggest was 52 and a half inches. That's right, 52 and a half inches, guys. That's like, oh my gosh, that's like 15 inches less than my height. I know, how absurd that is? That's as big as my chest and back was. My chest and back at its absolute biggest that it ever was 53 inches in circumference around my, chest and lats. And now my belly was 52 and a half inches. Friggin' absurd. But I will say now it is down to 47. So that's honestly, man, that's a big accomplishment for me. I'm very content and very grateful for all these positive changes lately. And of course, I'm back to walking around normally. I can move up the stairs with more than a half a mile an hour now. I can walk up the stairs normally, which shouldn't really be a major accomplishment, but it is, and you gotta, don't take it for granted. I can walk around normally. I can go to the gym. I'm full of energy again. I feel like I've gained life back. I'm a lot more mentally well than I was. I was in a extremely dark place. So dark that I was seeing the Grim Reaper quite frequently in my dreams. Which, that's not a good sign. It's not a good sign to see the Grim Reaper in your dreams, ever. Especially that frequently, but, no, it's not happening anymore. He's gone. He left. He's leaving me alone now. I'm in a lot better of a place. The darkness has left, and, it's, it feels wonderful. It really feels magnificent. Thanks to God, of course. Thanks to God, and thanks to my family and friends who are infinitely supportive of me, and I couldn't be more grateful for that. But guys, for the future, I got to wrap this video up quickly because my battery's on pretty low on my camera. But for the future, we're just going to continue doing what I'm doing. I'm going to keep improving. I'm going to keep trying to do better each and every day, incorporate more cardio, try to clean up the diet even more. I'm going to stick to going to the gym. I'm going to preserve those same goals that I used to have of being on the Olympia stage someday. And I know that's a stretch right now, because I have a very far ways to go now. But last year that wasn't much of a stretch. Last year I had the mentality for it. You don't lose discipline. It's just buried. That's what I've always thought to myself. You can't, if you have discipline, you don't lose it. You can't physically lose it. It's never gone. You just bury it. But it's still there. And you gotta pick up the shovel and start digging, because you're gonna uncover it again. Alright? And that's exactly how the process feels of uncovering your discipline that has always been there and will always be there. So, guys, if you're going through something similar, just remember that God is always there for you, first of all. He will never forsake you, and He will help you. And second of all, just don't give up. Don't procrastinate on it. Don't say you'll do it tomorrow, please. Just think of your future self in 3 months. Is your future self going to be thanking you? Are you going to be proud of what you did today and 3 months from now, or are you going to wish that you had done differently? Think of it like that, because that's how I'm starting to think of it now, honestly. If I could go back 3 months ago and change my actions, you bet I would. But it's too late. But I don't want to say the same thing in 3 months from now, okay? So, anyways, end of story. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for all of you who have remained on my social medias here. You guys mean the world to me. That you stayed for as long as you did, and my heart goes out to you, all of you. I can't imagine why you would have stayed here and supported me for so long. I know sometimes I think a little too lowly of myself like that, but I love you guys, and I appreciate you so much, regardless. And I promise to all of you that things are going to be different from here on out. I am fully committed to the gym once again, as I always was, and as I always should have been. But now as I always will be. So thanks, guys. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for your support. Further updates coming in the very near future. I'm going to try to post pretty frequently on YouTube now, if I can, just about experiences that I've learned and stuff. And you guys are awesome. And as always, in my other videos, as I always said, peek out. Oh, gosh.